So fear is something that we all experience, and sometimes fear can stem from mismanaged thoughts and mismanaged emotions and just a negative imagination of what if. Fear thrives on uncertainty, but something that I've realized lately is that action is a cure to fear, while indecision fertilizes fear. In that indecision, we can catastrophize and think of what if, or what will, or who, when, where. There's all of this uncertainty that grows when we have indecision and when we're timid, that can grow in that moment of fear versus action of, this is what I'm going to do. These are the steps I'm going to take. This is my realm of responsibility and what I have control over and what I'm going to do in this time of fear. So it's almost reframing that what if to what now. When we don't act on things, our mind can fill the page with so many scenarios and uncertainties. And things are going to happen in our life where those scenarios may be valid. For example, there's some things that I'm going into the new year with these job uncertainties and career uncertainties and these sort of things that are kind of filling in the gap in these car troubles and these things that are happening. But also I can think of, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to work, going to do this, where am I going to work, how am I going to have this income? But there's all of these things that are valid questions about the fear and the natural reaction to having something bad happen in our lives is a natural reaction of not feeling that great about it and feeling a little bit of that fear and pessimism and not being as solution oriented in the beginning. But I think that it's important in some scenarios, and of course life has nuance and not everything is black and white, but for my situation and for a lot of our situations, it's important to think of solutions and think of an action plan on what to do next. Why suffer before we have to? If something has already happened and we feel that's going to trigger a bunch of events, then let's be proactive and understand the realm of our control. You know, sometimes also you have to reframe suffering, and that's kind of what I'm trying to practice in this period of my life, is looking at suffering as building grit, building endurance, as God being able to take a look at me and say, hey, you can expand in this area. How are you going to handle this? And I appreciate it a little bit more. And I can realize that, you know what, this may be a certain part of my life or a little percentage of my life where I'm just going to have to trust God in this suffering period and have him work it out, because this is all that I have responsibility over. I don't have responsibility over somebody's reactions and somebody else's results and somebody else's way that they treat me. I only have responsibility for what I can control, which is my reactions, my emotions, my desires, and the things that I do. And so it's almost a little comforting to think of, this is what I have control of, and if I continue to stay the course, if I continue to push through and have a what now or what next type of mindset, in a sense of I'm planning, I'm taking control over what I can and not catastrophizing, then that fear can start to diminish, because fear thrives off of uncertainty. And there's different types of fear, right? There's different situations where fear will be a little bit different from what it normally looks like to you, or a little bit different than the next person's. Of course, there's so much nuance in life, but when we really take a look at it, most of the time it's not about the situation, it's about our reaction. How are we handling that specific thing? So it's important to understand the realm of your responsibility, the realm of your control, and to talk yourself off of that ledge of uncertainty and that ledge of feeding the fear and fertilizing the fear, and say, I'm going to kill this and cut this off and do what I can and trust God, or whatever you believe in and trust in to work it out. Here's an example of some actionable steps that you can kind of take in fear. It's not a blanket statement, actionable steps, but for example, if you have a fear of public speaking, then maybe practice in the mirror a bit more. If you have a fear of failing the exam, then create a study plan and say, you know what, I'm going to start now instead of postponing. You have an exam that you're waiting for and you're postponing the studying, you're postponing the work, and you're getting more anxious and more worked up, and then you study for the last couple days and you don't do too well. You cannot blame the exam and the results of the exam. You can only blame yourself for not taking the actions that you needed to prepare yourself for what was ahead. And that's what's important, is taking the actions while you can to prepare yourself for what's ahead. And that's why I don't know why I'm experiencing these difficulties that I am right now, but I do know that it's building endurance when I continue to push through, that it's building grit when I decide to still show up, that it's building a level of discipline when I say, you know what, I may not be able to have a job I can show up at, but I have a gym that I can show up at. I may not be able to drive over here, but I have a friend and I have a God and I have a community that I can ask and try to show up, try to have some sense of control over your life even when it feels difficult. But I hope this video helps you. I always say, have a good life because you can. Understand what you have responsibility over and really be honest with yourself. Don't say, oh, everything is out of my control, everything is out of my control. Okay, well, a lot of things may be out of your control, but what is in your control? And are you doing those things that are in your control well? That is the question, to eliminate the fear instead of fertilizing it.